Welcome back. You're watching a CNBC TV 18 special with Dr. Pawan Goenka, the Executive Director of M&M. In January, you diversified into with your first petrol offering, KUV. I mean, how would you look at the response? Because if you look at from the month of April to July, we've seen the wholesale numbers, which we have access to. We've seen wholesale numbers gradually fall. July, it's under 3,000 units. Looking back, I mean, how do you see the petrol experiment?
So, see,
are you satisfied?
A couple of things have happened in the process. We have launched a petrol vehicle, but we are still known to be a diesel vehicle manufacturer, right? So the label with Mahindra is diesel. And therefore, a lot of people who want to buy a petrol vehicle still may not be convinced. Still may not be convinced that Mahindra petrol vehicle is as good as a Mahindra diesel vehicle. So when you look at the shift that has happened from diesel to petrol, and given that we are not known for petrol, it has created a little bit of a down, taken our volume somewhat down, little dampener to our volume. Now, as a petrol vehicle gets used, as more and more people talk about it, as the confidence comes up, I would certainly hope that the volume will come up. So when we had launched the KUV 100, we were looking at 65-35 kind of ratio between diesel and petrol, and it's turned out to be more like 50-50 ratio. Right? So what has happened is that petrol is selling what we thought it will sell, and diesel has come down because of the shift in consumer preference from diesel to petrol because of all this uncertainty happening through the Supreme Court ruling and through NGT action, and also the diesel and petrol pricing coming closer. Yeah. So I think we will go back in our volume on KUV 100. It's a good product. Those who have bought it are happy with the product. Styling has been approved, has been liked by people. It gives an impression what we wanted of a SUV and not a hatchback, and a lot of customers would like to get a SUV in that price range. Other thing that has happened also, which has been a dampener, is segment has become a lot more competitive. Yeah. So the kind of incentives being given today are significantly higher than what it was when we launched KUV 100.
You mean incentives as in, you mean discounts?
The incentive sounds like a better word than discount.
Yeah, it's like a euphemism for discounts. All right, so I think, and that has become...
That also made a difference because many of the products in the direct competition of KUV 100 now have a higher level of incentive than they did when we launched KUV 100. But we're working on all of these things, and I'm pretty sure that we will.
When you talk about discounts, also going up during this period, and we're seeing a jump in auto sales. So is this jump in auto sales due to these artificial steroids that are being given, or is there genuinely on-ground demand?
It's an interesting question, and I would have to admit that overall the discount levels in the incentive, now I'm using your word, not incentive, overall discount levels in the industry have gone up, though a little more in some segments than other segments, but they have gone up. I don't think it has gone up at the cost of profitability of the companies, because if you look at the results of companies that announce the results, their OPM or their profit margin hasn't come down much. Yeah. So I think the way discounts have been managed is because of the commodity prices still behaving well and the price increases that have taken place. But overall discounting level has gone up, and especially in the competitive segments, which will be a certain hatchback range and some SUVs where there are many products that have come in.
Does that concern you?
Look, if you look globally, discounts are name of the game. And as Indian auto industry become more global, we will have to align with the practices that happen globally. And if I was to think that someday we will go back to no discount era, probably wishful thinking. It won't happen. And therefore, see, discount basically means building into a pricing and removing from a price. So I'm sure that all automakers would do some adjustment in the way they manage their overall profit. If the discount levels are going up, somehow it is to reflect in the pricing.
Dr. Goenka, tell me also, many will say now that there's a larger industry trend that's happening where the line between an SUV and a car is getting blurred. And the question people are asking, how will that impact M&M? All right. So people are now going in not necessarily to buy an SUV if they have the money, like for instance the Brezza. I mean, if somebody has the money and if Brezza claims to be an SUV, then they'll go ahead. I mean, they are not making a distinction. Earlier, you had that loyal customer base who will go in for an SUV. How does that impact the market leader?
So I'll be the first one to admit that the boundary between SUV and a passenger car is getting blurred. And in fact, if you look at the last 4 months, the passenger vehicle growth is about 9-10% in 4 months, but all of it has come from what we call SUV. Passenger cars have grown only 1-1.5%. So therefore, first thing, the way it affects M&M is that when we start looking at market share of SUV, that market share of SUV perhaps doesn't have the same meaning today as it did 4-5 years ago, when not every alternate vehicle was being called SUV. Now when everything is SUV, you cannot really talk about an SUV market share as much. Right? When the growth in SUV segment is 35-40%, clearly one cannot say that I'm going to maintain my market share at that level. In the SUV segment, the competition has become a lot more fierce. I mean, as little as 5 years ago, you probably didn't have more than about 10 models in the SUV range, and now it must be 25-30 models in SUV range. Right? Every second new product launch that's happening is a SUV. In fact, automakers now are sort of trying very hard to call each of their products an SUV, and how do you define SUV is not very clear anymore. So therefore, I think one has to stop talking perhaps of SUV and non-SUV and just think in our mind only as passenger vehicle. So that is one thing. Undoubtedly, with the competition that we have, Mahindra will have to constantly innovate on new products. We cannot be counting on a product having a 10, 12, 15-year life cycle. We have to be launching new products all the time. We have done quite a few of that recently, and therefore right now we don't have a product gap per se. We have from a 3.6 or 3.7 meter KV100 all the way up to XUV500 and even Rexton. So I won't say we have too much of product gap. I would still say that we probably have somewhat of a higher focus on what we define SUV in a true sense. And we may need another product or so in sort of the modern crossover, which is closer to passenger car than to SUV. And that's how the crossovers are happening right now. We may need to do something in that range.
And how far are we from seeing a product in that?
Well, we have announced
that gap.
We have announced already that we are working on a new product based on the Tivoli platform. So that work is right now going on. Too premature for me to give a date on when it will be launched. But that product, which will be larger than KV100 in the crossover range, that would probably be the only product that we need to bring in to capture the complete sort of volume range in SUV.
The reason why I asked you, sir, was that I think perhaps for the first time ever, and I was going through my data, in the month of July, if you take the top 5 selling UVs according to SIAM, none of M&M's products are there.
True.
So so that is where many will say that, you know, what's M&M doing about it?
I think one of the reasons for that is that we have many products. So if you go back 5 years ago, we talked about XU and we talked about XUV500, Scorpio and Bolero. That's it, right? Now we have those three, plus we have TUV300, plus we have KUV100, and if a number of products available is larger, our total volume has not come down. Okay, but the same volume is spread over a larger number. So that's perhaps the reason why we are not seeing something in the top 5 or top 10. We would love to, but right now I think our volume is spread on many vehicles.
Few last things then, sir. You know, as far as the two-wheeler business is concerned, you had said in July that it is one vertical which has not met expectations last year. We are currently in the process of deciding the way forward for our two-wheeler business. Can you give us an update, sir?
Nothing new right now. I had said some time ago that probably 6 to 8 weeks we'll be able to come to a final announcement that we can make about our two-wheeler business.
Like in terms of like what kind? I mean, what?
So clearly we are revisiting a strategy. Clearly we are saying that perhaps the segment that we are in two-wheeler is not the segment that we should be in. We have seen some success in Mozo, where the Mozo has created those small volume, but created a good niche for itself. We are seeing some success in 125cc Gusto. So clearly for Mahindra, It's not the 110cc where we should put tremendous focus on. We need to put focus on the premium, higher power, higher cc motorcycle or scooters. So we're looking at all of that and deciding what is the right mix for us. How much of it we focus on 100, 110cc, how much of our effort focus on higher cc bikes and scooters. And that's the decision that's going on right now that we will talk about in some time.
So because many would say that, you know, especially at a time when your core bread and butter segment, SUV, is facing competition, and all that you've talked to me about, is M&M trying to do too many things, you know, especially with a two-wheeler business, you know, which, as you said, was, you know, it has entrenched players. You know, I mean, are you doing too many things? Whereas where many companies believe that less is more, Mahindra still believes more is more. So is there like...
Well, look, I don't want to be critical of anybody's strategy. And I don't think the strategy is one size fits all. There's a certain way certain companies decide to go, right for them, a certain way that Mahindra has decided to go. I don't think that our strategy has been proven wrong so far, though I've been defending this for quite some time. It's not the first time I'm being asked that are we doing too many things. But our belief always is that as we reach steady state in one business, in one segment, we have to look for what's next. Okay, so we went up and down in the sense that we started working on two-wheelers and started working on trucks, and both were questioned. That is it right for Mahindra to be getting into truck where there are serious players, same thing with two-wheeler. Now the truck is beginning to turn around. The two-wheeler, we have not had the same sort of turnaround that has happened in truck. Maybe 5 years from now, truck will become our strength. Maybe that will become our bread and butter. Who knows? So we have to keep experimenting. There will be businesses that we will try and not succeed in. There will be businesses which will try and it will create a new sort of cash cow for us. We don't know. Not just in mobility space. If you look at space outside mobility in Mahindra Group, you'll see the same thing. And many of our big businesses today were questioned just like this 10 years ago. That should Mahindra be doing this? Let's take Mahindra Holidays. It was questioned. And let's take even housing. It was questioned. But they are today good money-making businesses for us. The same thing will happen here. I'm not going to say that everything that we're trying will succeed. But out of this, 1 or 2 gems will emerge.
Is there need then perhaps to look at a new brand for the two-wheeler segment? Especially now that you have a good acquisition, a well-known brand, and that you're talking about you want to focus more on the premium segment. Is there now time to take these hard decisions, is what I'm saying, not the incremental changes? Is there now time to, I mean, and is that at all, being thought about within the company?
A lot of things are talked about within the companies, and some things we will do, some things will probably get cold feet on, and everything that you are saying is under discussion, under consideration. What we'll finally do or not do, I cannot say today, but we're looking at some.
So when will you be ready then, Dr. Goenka, with a new plan for the two-wheeler business?
I won't get pinned down by any question like that. We will announce as soon as we have a final decision.
So the global NCAP report had come out a few months ago, and that created a lot of furor, and the new regulations will kick into place from next year. How ready is M&M with these?
We have absolutely no concern. Okay, there is unfortunate impression created somehow that Indian manufacturers are not spending enough on safety, which is really unfortunate, because if you look at Mahindra, for example, we probably, though I don't have data, but we probably have in entry-level and mid-level segment, we probably have the highest penetration of ABS, we probably have the highest penetration of airbags. So if a car without airbag is picked for testing and says 0 star, it proves nothing.
Right.
Okay. We have with KUV launched 100% ABS even at the base level. With KUV 100, we are giving airbag as an option even at the entry level. Consumers also have to spend money. I mean, they cannot expect to get airbag and ABS for free. It does cost money. So therefore, this thinking that somehow Indian OEMs are not spending on safety is not right. All the vehicles that we have designed, that we have launched, all the platforms that we have launched are designed to meet the 2017 crash norms comfortably. I mean, not even close. I mean, it's not like just barely meeting. All of them have been designed to meet 4 or 5 star rating as per the draft notification that was ready earlier. Now there is some talk about changing it. If it changes, we'll have to revisit some of it. But we have no concern about meeting the 2017 safety norms because they were announced in time, and we have put that into our device. In fact, we are frankly proud of our safety penetration, even airbags. We have, even in the entry-level vehicle like KUV, we have 56% airbag penetration. If you go to TUV is 85% airbag penetration. Those are pretty good
consumers
numbers.
are willing to then
Consumers are willing to pay for safety, yes, because we do offer same variant with and without airbag. And consumers are paying for airbag.
Which is not what many companies say. I mean, on record, many companies say the consumers don't want to, they prefer. But in your experience, M&M'S experience...
My experience, at least, is that I would think that more than half the consumers would be willing to pay for safety, provided with safety they don't have to pay for too many other different things. And that's the reason we had taken a decision 2 years ago that we will provide safety equipment, that is airbag and ABS, even in our entry-level variant. And that's what I think is working.
Can we
well
then
for
take
us.
it for granted then that before the 2017 deadline for meeting this new regulation, even your base variants will be meeting that, because eventually that is what the regulations will say.
So the only thing that will change is that if you look at, say, KV 100 today,
you will phase out the low...
We will have to phase out the non-airbag version. That's the only thing that changes. Otherwise, KV 100 as sold today with airbag meets the 2017 safety norms, even today. The only difference is we cannot sell non-airbag. That's it. So which is fine. I mean, that's when the time comes, we'll stop selling the non-airbag version.
Final question then. Anand Mahindra talked about autonomous tractors, and that predictably created a lot of interest. Is there at all a plan like that? Or is that a benchmark that that the chairman has set for the company?
So see, the point that Mr. Mahindra made, and rightly so, that the applicability of driverless vehicle maybe more in tractor than in automotive space, especially for us and for India, because tractor runs in a confined space, and therefore there are less things to worry about, easier to control, and so on and so forth. So therefore, driverless tractors become a technology that makes a lot of sense for us. We are working on things, the pieces of it. Just last week we launched something called DigiSense, which is a digital platform, in a way that becomes a building block for driverless tractor, and there are a lot of other things that need to be done. That's just one building block, and we have R&D work going on right now, but it is right now in exploratory phase. I cannot give any kind of prediction that we can launch a driverless tractor in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. We don't even know that it will succeed. But given the technology has moved so far ahead in driverless car, and I think in some countries it's just around the corner for driverless taxis to be launched. Therefore, technology is available. Now it's a question of bringing it into tractor. It's a question of making it affordable for tractor and doing all the things that one has to do to ensure that the driverless tractor does everything that a drivered tractor will do.
So will you look at the commercial viability of this? Of
course, we will have to. But right now it's too early to make a commercial call. Right now it's more exploring technology, doing prototypes, building some tractors, trying it out, see whether its technical feasibility is there. Then only one looks at commercial.
Pawan Goenka, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for your
Great.
time.
Thank you.
Sir. Thank you.
Okay.